What if there was another way to actually live, a way that you can actually start to be in charge of your own healing, a way to get out of this survival mode and into creative mode? Well, it's my job as your host of the Healing Tree Hub to introduce you to some modalities that might actually make all the difference and to give you your power back. My name is Sarah, and I have the pleasure of meeting you every week to discuss new modalities and new topics that are really making a difference out there. So buckle up and enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Healing Tree Hub. This is your host, Sarah, again, and as promised, I am going to be talking about fear. And I absolutely love the heading of this podcast, Fear Not The Boogieman. And there's good reason why I chose that as a heading. And I'm going to be pulling in a lot of stories from my childhood and also my little 4-year-old girl, Georgie's stories. She's been a huge inspiration for this and also the book that I'm writing at the moment. Yes, I'm writing a book in regards to spiritually children and how on earth to parent them, because I know that is a huge challenge in the community that I work with. So fear is a huge concept we speak about in my book, which will one day be released. It's nowhere near being finished just yet, but podcasts and information like this and your feedback is going to be really, really helpful in that book as well. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about fear vibration. And I speak about fear with such a smile on my face these days because I feel like I'm finally, at the ripe age of 38, I'm finally actually able to shed so much fear. And when it does arise in my life, because I am a human being and I'm experiencing fear on a daily basis still, I can recognize it and I can shift the vibration so quickly that it doesn't have to affect the rest of my frequency for the rest of the day. And I can actually just get on with the stuff that I want to actually do and what I want to attract in my life. So for those of you that are new to this podcast, I'd really love to just rehash on a little bit of information in regards to vibration and frequency. We spoke about this on episode 2. So if you haven't already heard about the law of attraction and what it is, that would be an amazing podcast to listen to, just to really link all of these concepts together. Okay, so as we know, we have high vibrations and we have low vibrations, and whatever vibration we're at, we attract only that in our life. So to break that down a little bit, fear vibration is one of the lowest vibrations you could possibly be on. If you could see it written down or drawn on paper, it would look like a really flat, wavy line. That's what the vibration would look like of fear. Now, fear is one of the lowest probably the lowest vibration you can be on. And it is a sneaky one, fear. So many of my clients come in and say, I'm not afraid of anything, yet I can see it in their aura. And when I'm working on them, I can feel the fear coming straight through them. And when we break it down, we realize that fear is not just, oh my gosh, I'm terrified of that cliff edge or that spider or whatever it is. Fear is dressed up in anxiety, in worry, in a lot of OCD, for example. A lot of my people around me have OCD. That is all fear-based vibration. It's being stuck in a cycle of fear vibration. Fear can be dressed up as many different things. And when we get our head around that, we can actually identify that most of the uncomfortable sensations and emotions that we're experiencing throughout the day is usually drawn back to fear. And that's a really interesting concept. And it's a real aha moment for a lot of people around me when they realize this. Now, here's the thing. Fear is crippling us in our day-to-day life. It is setting us on one of the lowest vibrations and attracting so much of what we fear to actually come true or to annoy us or to ruin our day. But the thing is, fear is actually a complete illusion. And many people look at me very odd when I say that. But when you look at fear, we think that it protects us. We think that we really need fear because if we don't have fear, we're going to step off that cliff and just end up tumbling. If we don't have fear, we'll smash into a tree. If we don't have fear, we're not going to be looking after our children properly. What if I told you we actually don't need fear? We need to tune in to our intuition. With strong intuition, there is absolutely no need to be terrified or worried or stressed. If we start tapping into our intuition and getting aligned to our true self, which is the whole reason why I do these podcasts in the first place, to help people start to recognize that with alignment, your intuition can appear to still be something that protects you and keeps you safe at all times without sending you into a vibration that attracts the things that you don't want in life. So that's all good and well to say, but let's explore this concept a little bit deeper to see how we can actually transform this in our life. Now, I want to just rehash again on what fear is actually doing. So I'll give you a bit of an example off the top of my mind. So when we're in a fear-based moment, so let's just say you've, I love this one. You're driving just left home, you're driving in the car, you're on your way, and you go, oh, did I turn the straightener off? Oh my goodness, did I turn the straightener off? Instant fear jumps up. Your heart starts to rise. Your thoughts start to create this entire story that the house is going to end up burning. Everything that you own is gone. Oh my God, where is the passport? Oh my goodness, what am I going to do when I'm homeless? Where will we live? Is the dog going to be all right during the fire? Now, this huge story that you create has a reaction, has an emotional attachment. Now, what emotions are you feeling? You are feeling dread, worry, concern, shame that you could possibly even forget to do the straightener. We don't even know if that's a fact at this stage, but right now, these are all happening. This emotional response is now affecting a hormonal cascade throughout your system and making you feel absolutely terrified. It would be the same feeling as being chased by a saber-toothed tiger back in the day. Now, your complete sympathetic mode has risen. You are in fight, flight, or freeze, and the amount of cortisol running through your system is not going to be a very healthy thing for the rest of your body. Now, this is all based, everything that's just happened then is all based on one little tiny possibility thought. Not a fact, possibility thought. So if you can see what's actually happening from a vibrational point of view, you are now in a frequency. So your vibration's flat and low and wavy, which put you into, imagine it being a radio station again, so it's easier to understand. The radio station is now tuned into a frequency of, let's say there's no numbers, but I'm going to make one up just to help you. Channel 1, fear-based frequency. Now in channel 1, while you're tracking in this frequency, you can only receive that of what matches that vibration. So you could possibly, even if it was just a little possibility thought, you could possibly make that horrible, intense, awful vibration a reality, because that's how fucking powerful we actually are. And that sounds absurd, I understand. But when you start looking at your life and what you're actually attracting with your thoughts that turn into emotions and sending out those signals, it's really quite obvious when you start really drilling down to it. Now, let's just say you've had this thought, you're in the car, you've got the dread, and you start to conquer or give yourself conflicting thoughts. Okay, Sarah, calm down. The chances of my house burning down, losing my pet and all my stuff, it's pretty slim. It's all going to be fine. Calm down. Now, what have we done just then? We have given a conflicting thought pattern, and we've now changed our emotion due to that thought pattern. And that emotion is now sending out a different frequency, a vibration, which is sending us into another frequency. So imagine that now that we're feeling a bit more calmer, we've given ourselves a little bit of reassurance. Our mindset's changed a little here. And it's now not so flat vibration. It's now more of a sort of a bit more bumpy, for lack of better terms. And if you could see it on a radio station, again, I'll use that analogy. Let's just say you've gone up to vibrate a frequency 3. So you're on channel 3 now. And on channel 3, things aren't as glim as it was on 1. So if we kept going on 1, it may have been pretty intense. So now we've got this conflicting thought, emotion, vibration, and we're now on level 3 where we arrive back at home when we check, and of course everything is perfectly fine and there was absolutely nothing to worry about, and you've just got the most unbelievably beautiful relief, and you are full of gratitude and full of that good stuff, all the good stuff. And guess what? Your vibration has now increased again. And now you're feeling grateful. And grateful is one of the highest frequencies, or I should say appreciation is probably more higher because it's just not marked with any lack mindset. We'll go into that in another podcast. So now all of a sudden you're running on this, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky. This is wonderful. Oh my good. Now I can get back in the car and enjoy my day. So look, it can go either way depending on how your mindset is sitting. Another fear might jump in and another fear might jump in, and you'll have to go through this whole process every single time. So understand through that little story, and I hope that explanation that I just thought of off the top of my head was helpful, because when we look at fear and what happens with the fear response, we can actually really quite clearly see that majority of fear is fabricated. It's story. Now, I think I've touched on this a little bit in the past about mindset. But when we look at how our emotions are developing, what are they developing from? That in that particular story, there was no fact that story created from. It was a possibility thought that popped into Sarah's head. And then all of a sudden, I created an entire story that was fabricated and not real. So the fear was based off something that was completely meaningless and unreal. So I created a story that created a traumatic emotion that set me on such a low frequency that I could have possibly started to attract some pretty nasty things throughout the day. And if I didn't have that conflicting thought or mindset change of realizing that majority of my emotion was coming from that story that was not real, and I was starting to reassure myself, oh, hang on, that's a story. It's not real. It's not really happened. Then I believe that my frequency and vibration would have sent me into a really nasty day. So this is really important, considering that most of the stuff that we're afraid of is a story that we're creating in our head. So I challenge you to start really looking at, every time you feel afraid, what exactly are you afraid of, and what are the facts in that story? Where are the facts? What's the black and white facts that are really happening in your life? And what is the story you're attaching to it? Because that's really, really powerful stuff. You will be able to conflict it, give it a conflicting story that will help raise the vibration when you recognize the story. You will be able to reassure yourself. Now, I know that no matter what religion you are, if it's Christianity, any religion, even the Bible will state, I think it's stated 365 times, and I'm not a huge Bible reader, but I know this, that to not fear. You know, God does not want you to fear. So it doesn't matter about what religion you are. A lot of the religions talk about not having to have that burden. And I don't have a religion. I am a pure spiritualist. I love my metaphysics, but I just embrace all. And anything that you believe in, I know that our God up there, our energy, our source, it's got our back. It's part of us. So it's not something that I ever want any of my children to have to worry about fear directing their life. So let's talk a little bit about what to do when you are struck with fear. Because the mindset stuff's amazing. It's really great, but sometimes it can be a little bit tricky to get yourself out of that fight and flight So I, I have a couple of techniques, but I really want to share something that I've been doing with my 4-year-old Georgia, and it comes from my childhood. I remember waking up in the middle of the night being a little mystic, and I think I've spoken about this in the other podcast, how I would wake up and there would literally be spirits standing at my foot of my bed looking just like 3D. They were unbelievably realistic. And I was petrified to the point where every single cell in my body was jumping. Now, that is that's pretty intense. When you've got something like a fact or something that's quite real in front of you, what do you do with that? You can't do the whole, okay, what story? Okay, you can, but in that situation, that's not going to be that helpful. So I wanted to give you some tips and tricks. Now that we understand that fear is the lowest vibration, when it comes to the boogeyman or any of the low dense energies, yes, there are low dense energies out there. Absolutely. There is yin and yang in this world, without doubt. And you wouldn't want it any other way, because yin and yang allow for each other to be recognized. Without light, you wouldn't be able to see the darkness, and vice versa. So it's important that we do have both, but there is absolutely nothing to be afraid of. You are extraordinarily powerful. You are a spirit having a human experience. I think I've mentioned this a couple of times now. And if you remembered how powerful you actually were, nothing would scare you here on earth. Absolutely nothing. And I truly don't believe that there's this big bad. I mean, a lot of the religions talk about, your hell concepts and your Satan, and that's perfectly fine if that's your belief system. But I love the concept that it lives within us. Heaven and hell, or, God and Satan, it all lives within us. We are the yin and yang. We are presenting that every single day. And it's constantly a battle to see which one we're going to be favoring on the day. And look, that's just my belief system. So whatever your belief system is perfectly fine. And these concepts will work lovely with them as well. So understanding that fear and the boogeyman are nothing to worry about, but they can be really confronting and scary when you've got them in the foot of your bed, like I did as many times as a child. And nobody was around to explain to me that they couldn't hurt me without my consent. Now, this concept is a big one. Nothing energetic can harm you without your consent. Now, what does that mean? So sometimes consent looks like, oh my God, they're going to hurt me. Oh my God, that woman just cursed me. Bang, you gave consent. So when you accept that you're going to get hurt by something, that is giving consent to something. Now, you could have that thought, but I would highly recommend to immediately contradict it by saying nothing can harm me without my consent. I do not give you consent to harm me. I do not give you consent to try to make me afraid, and I do not give you consent to be in my area right now, so you need to leave. So that's a really great way with dealing with any spirits that you might come across that do not feel high vibrational. And remember, you will not come across any spirits that are not aligned with your frequency. And that's a really important one for the next stage of this conversation. So I'm going to give you a little analogy, and I love this because I feel like it was so reassuring when I heard it for the first time, and I think I heard it from Next Level Soul TV show. They're absolutely brilliant, and one of the channels they were talking about this. Okay, so imagine, I'm going to give you an analogy of an aeroplane, and in this analogy, altitude is going to be representing frequency. Okay, so if you can get your head around this will make a lot of sense. So you're in an aeroplane, and the aeroplane is at really low altitude. It's just getting off the ground and just in that sort of turbulent stage where everything's shaking around, everyone's feeling really, really fearful and worried, etc. Now, in that low vibration altitude, we're going to be experiencing anything that matches that frequency. So even maybe some low dense energy might come, especially to children. If they've had a really rough, hard day, they could possibly be encountered with some boogeyman or boogeymen that we give the concept to. And it's not comfortable, it's scary, and we're at the same frequency. We can see each other. We're in that reality together. Now, imagine that we are now rising in altitude. The aeroplane is now rising above the clouds, and at that altitude is our frequency. So now we're in a really high frequency, or just even a little bit higher frequency, and we've now come out of that low density. Even though the boogeyman in this analogy is still there where we were experiencing the turbulence, as we rise, we do not experience it, and they do not experience us anymore. We are in different realities now. We are in a higher frequency. Therefore, we cannot sense, see, feel, and they cannot sense, see, feel us. That is truly how it works when you're working with frequencies. And that blew my mind. So I tested it on my child. My little 4-year-old, she's a little medium. She is constantly coming up to me and saying, "Mom, there's too many people in my bedroom. Can I sleep in your bed?" It's pretty confronting. Or there's a man in my room and, I'm scared, or sometimes there's aliens in my room. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, so what I came up with her, an idea that I came up with her was that maybe for a little 4-year-old, I've got to try and change her frequency, but how do you stop a little 4-year-old from being petrified? And laughter came up for me. So we sat down and we came up with a plan. Next time the boogeyman comes and visits her, and of course we've been doing the white lighting and the pyramid of white light, which I taught you about in the Inner Child podcast. So make sure you're doing that with your children as well, putting a pyramid of white light on before they go to bed. And that usually stops this in its tracks. But with this particular scenario, she was having a reoccurrent stranger coming that wasn't very low vibrational, but enough to scare her. And we came up with a plan where we would imagine that this boogeyman was wearing a ridiculous tutu, a big pink bow in his hair, and as he walks in, she's put an energetic banana peel on the floor, and he slips on the banana peel, whacks himself, and it feels really embarrassed, and she has to visualize him, feeling really embarrassed and like really losing his credibility as a scary monster. And we were laughing and having so much fun with this. It was hilarious. And instantly, what happened? When you think about it energetically, what's happening here? Her fear vibration went into laughter, joy, and excitement vibration, which is an extreme change. And she was able to catapult herself out of that frequency and into a joyous, happy, fun, high frequency. There is no boogeyman able to even conceive the thought of Georgia when she is in that frequency. And this has worked so well. It's one of my favorite tools for children, but not just children, for clients as well. So I don't expect you guys to think about a monster being, in a tutu or anything ridiculous like that, but use the concept the way that you need to shift yourself out. And, if you can't use the mindset tool that we spoke about earlier, use this as a particular, a potential option. When you are feeling a bit nervous or a bit freaked out at home and the lights are, flickering, a lot of my clients have that, especially once they've been sort of activated, or you're just feeling like there's something in the house or around you that just doesn't feel safe. First of all, put yourself in that beautiful white light pyramid we spoke about that shimmers and shines. It's completely protective. Put the whole house in it. Nothing can harm you. Nothing can get through. It's one of the most powerful barriers that you could possibly put in. And then find a way to increase your frequency. Find a way to laugh at it. Have a conversation with it. Okay, you are not welcome. I do not give you consent, and you need to head off now, okay? And just be light about it. Lighten it up. Okay? So that's my way of dealing with low vibe energy, and there are so many different techniques that you can use, but whatever permission slip you give yourself to activate something. So when I'm talking about permission slips, I'm talking about we have the ability to do anything in our creation, but we have somehow convinced ourselves that we're not that powerful. So we feel like we need these tools or spells or techniques to actually activate these things, but what we're actually doing is activating them because we're that powerful, and we just needed to convince ourselves we were. So that's what spells do, and that's what all these techniques do that really, really help. Right, I have gone overtime on this one, and I hope that that's okay with everyone. I really felt like this was an important concept, and I could talk about this for hours. I think I probably need to create a workshop on this one because I feel like I've only just touched the surface. But I really hope that whoever was listening today really needed to hear about this one. And remember, if you are starting to open your spirituality and you're starting to feel a little nervous about all the things that are popping up now that your third eye is open, you get to set the rules. You get to protect yourself. You get to set boundaries with spirit. You get to make the script up. This is your life and your experience. And nobody can harm you energetically without your permission. And just knowing that gives you the power. So have fun and enjoy raising those vibes. You are still going to experience all the low vibes throughout the days, but you will become so good at getting out of it quickly. And that's the important thing. You're a human. You will have these moments. Use them as a little test dummy. Use it as an experiment. Every single time you end up in a really rough morning where everything that could go wrong is going wrong, experiment with this. Start getting your high vibes up. Oh, can I add one more before we go? I absolutely love this, and I feel like it's a really, really good one to shove into this one. The high vibe game. Me and the kids play this high vibe game, and it's because I need to actually get myself out of the funk before my clients get into clinic, and sometimes my mornings are really stressful and tough with the kids, as beautiful and wonderful as they are. So we do this high vibe game, and it's been so much fun. So the first thing that we do to get ourselves out of the funk is we all ask each other an authentic, and it has to be really authentic. That's the trick to this game, by the way, an authentic question. And the first question is, what do you love? What do you truly love right now in this moment? Sometimes all I can mutter is my coffee, but it's usually, I love my children or I love my dog, and you truly feel it. Like, it's not fake. It can't be fake because the emotion won't send out the signal otherwise. And the next question is, what do I truly appreciate right now? And it could be that you're driving in the rain right now and you really appreciate your jacket or your car. And that is true and authentic. It has to be, again, it has to be authentic. Can't be, I'm so blessed in my life, because if you're not feeling it, it's not a match, and it's not going to send out the signal. It's inauthentic. Okay, so right now I appreciate my car because it's raining and I need the car. And the last question is, what is something you're truly excited about right now? Like, really excited about. And the minute your brain goes there, you'll feel it. And for me, it's usually my bubble bath at the end of the night, or having movie night with the kids, or, I'm really excited about my client coming because I've never met this one. It's going to be fun. So whatever you can find, it doesn't have to be unbelievably, it doesn't have to be an overseas trip or something like that. It can be something simple and something that you truly, truly look forward to. Now, what happens when you put yourself in these mindsets, just for a quick glimpse, is you're raising your vibration every single time, because to bring your thought pattern to a memory or something that you are looking forward to, you instantly have to place your emotional status there. That's the best way I can explain it. I hope that didn't come out too jumbled. So every time we do it, we're pulling ourselves out of the funk that we're in and putting ourselves into that excitement. So 3 times the charm, having those 3 questions really catapults you, and you will see your day, your trajectory of the day will go so much smoother, and the rest of the day will flow. And that's how I get myself ready for a client in the morning, and then pump up some happy music and off you go. So listen, I have totally gone overtime today, and I'm having so much fun with this. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm heading out to Thailand tomorrow morning, so there will be a bit of a gap for a couple of weeks, but I can't wait to do my next podcast. I believe I have a guest speaker next time, so really looking forward to it. Have the best couple of weeks, guys. See ya. Thanks for listening. Bye.